Hello my friends, let's start this video from the military map review and let's go to the direction of Komar, where Ukrainian army was the most successful recently. It's not the only place where Ukrainian army counterattacks, but here Ukraine managed to liberate several of the villages, gaining lots of the ground. Moreover, it seems like Ukraine has already crossed the river of Mokry Yeli. This is the big tactical success, and the presence of the Ukrainian army was spotted in Zirka settlement. It's a very small one, just a single street with some of the households. Nevertheless, there are some of the basements where Ukrainian infantry potentially might hide and accumulate the forces for the further attack operations. The idea is to take Yalta and Zaporizhia, liberate those two settlements, to use them as the bridgehead for the further movement towards Komar. Plus, there is the information about the Ukrainian counteroffensive towards Myrna village, which is very close to Komar. To be successful in Komar, Ukraine absolutely needs to get Myrna under control, because attacking from the northern side alone, and I see that Ukraine tries to do it, otherwise what's the reason to deploy the forces across the river to Zirka? I think that the main idea is to go southbound to Komar, like tactical success. Yeah, further than Komar, no, Ukraine has no chances, because those are the vast territories, open fields, and Russia is using lots of the drones. So Komar is the main objective of this mission, but also for Ukraine, well, to cover this territory across the fields, it is also very difficult. So for this attack, Ukraine should use some of the vehicles to transport infantry more or less safely. And for this reason, Ukraine also should establish a reliable crossing across the Mokry River. But the river now is very shallow. It's very hot in Ukraine. The temperature fluctuates between 30–38 degrees, and if you live in Europe, Western Europe especially nowadays, you experience the heat wave, and the rivers here, they're also shallow. The same picture is in Ukraine. For example, here you can see, this is the crossing already. It's even marked as the trail. So this river is wider, more to the south, but in the northern part it's very shallow. So geography plays the great role here for Ukraine. Nevertheless, Russians are using artillery and drone strikes to hit Ukrainian positions in Zirka. It's the Russian 80th Tank Regiment that is shelling Ukrainian positions in Zirka, but at the same time it's the confirmation about the Ukrainian presence there. The buildings are mostly being destroyed. And this is the same direction. I found this one on NOAA reports. The Komar settlement is here, and Myrna, as you might see, is already in the gray zone. So according to the information published in the Komar direction, Ukrainian forces have gained control over both Myrna and Voskresenka. A few forces are advancing further south of Voskresenka and are approaching Komar from the west. Information is somewhat behind the actual situation. Well, Myrna is here, Voskresenka is here, partially in the gray zone, according to the Majakovsk 3 analyst, and the link for his Twitter you may find in the video description right below. Well, in general, it is understandable that Ukraine has an advantage over the Russian forces in Komar, and this counteroffensive is ongoing for several months already, with a partial success. But the battle for Komar may begin not very soon, I believe this autumn. My friends, just a short reminder break here. Please like this video just right now while you're watching it, and also subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to reach 1 million subscribers, hopefully very soon. And also, if you have this opportunity and willing to support the channel, you're very welcome to Patreon. The link for it is in the video description right below, or join membership of YouTube by pressing button join. My friends, you're awesome. Thank you so much for making this content possible, and let's continue with the video. Alright, Konstantinivka. I would say without changes for the last week. There is the presence of the Russian army, of course, mostly in the southern outskirts, but there is also Ukrainian infantry. Some of the troops, not many, but Konstantinivka is not yet been fully occupied. It is in a gray zone, and most of the analysts are saying like that. Kramatorsk, Slavyansk, everything is the same, like Russia hit some of the civilian vehicles, those are the civilians here, and also they cut the bridge, but Ukraine is using an alternate connection to supply the forces here. So there are losses for both of the sides, Ukraine, Russia. Ukraine is using drone systems to strike Russian vehicles and Russian infantry really hard. By the way, recently there was an attack of the Russian armed convoy. Yeah, Russia has sent more of the tanks equipped with Arena M systems. Here we have the screenshot from the FPV drone video, and this is the Arena M system. Basically, it fires the grenade with a shrapnel that counteracts to RPG shells. In this case, it works against the drones. Well, they already used all of the grenades to stop different FPV, so this one made it to the target. So Russians learned on their first mistake where they sent the convoy of those tanks equipped with Arena M, but it did not work. But here it is already operational, so Russians may make those tanks way lighter and avoid using hunger type of the protection, which makes those tanks act as the tanks, you know, with a moving turret and light armor. It's quite interesting, first of all, footage of T-72B3M of 2025 model with stock mangals, essentially completely unprotected, and T-90M with Arena M. Yeah, it's just not showing full message, and here is this protection. And we have the comment from one of our commander who said that he spoke with one of the units who repelled this attack, and they say that Arena M was working. He mentions that on one of the tanks the system managed to intercept 7 of the FPV drones. As usual, we needed 15 up to 20 of the drones to finish off each tank, and there were totally 7 of the tanks. So Arena M potentially it is operational, but the thing that it has just 12 of the shells and they're not at the same location, they're all around the turret. So of course even this kind of the protection could be easily overwhelmed by FPV drones. In its current state, it's just the variant for Russians not to make those clumsy big tanks. So those convoys could be way faster, maneuverable, and might harm Ukrainian positions more. And I would say for now, for Ukraine, there is no changes. So for the hunger type of the tank or for arena type of the tank, usually it's 15 up to 20 drones. Unfortunately, it's like that. The quantity is the same. I wonder if Russians would mix hunger type of the protection plus Arena M. But I do not worry too much about the system because it is very unique. It is complicated to build. So for Russians, for them, it's better to weld something, you know, the physical protection, than to develop Arena M, to produce those, to upgrade those systems. Also, we know that Russia is under the sanctions, so some of the equipment components they are unable to use. So I don't think that it's going to be massive and all of the Russian tanks could be equipped with this system. No. And here's the very interesting situation in Kupiansk direction. So Russia has multiple of the counterattacks with the small infiltration groups, and Ukraine also has the counterattack towards Kindrashivka, which was recently liberated fully. Now it's not even in a gray zone. If you check out the main interactive map, Kindrashivka is over here, it was cleared. Russians are trying to go to Kupiansk still via Holubivka, but those attack attempts are very small and Ukraine nails them down. What Russia was capable to do, they increased the territorial gains with a gray zone from Petropavlovka, and also they went to Kupiansk-Vuzlavy. I would say that those infiltrations are happening regularly into those settlements, but they've been finished by Ukrainian drone operators. For example, here 9th UAS Brigade dropped some of the kaboom in Kupiansk-Vuzlavy direction. So apparently in this building there was the presence of the Russian armed forces. And the building is no more. This is Bukhanka, it's on fire, and here we go. Rocket engine Bukhanka. It was just carrying some of the rocket artillery shells and it was kaboomed. Rocket artillery shells started to operate, moving Bukhanka a little bit further. Yeah, the Russian UAZ Bukhanka Lov is the very popular vehicle in the Russian army. And just look at this. Is it really a military vehicle? It looks scared. Yeah, there are different Bukhanka modes, with the protection, without protection, any taste. Alright, and here we have the analysis. It is the Territorial lost by Ukraine square kilometers in 2026. It is per week. So you see that the recent week Russia intensified their attacking actions. And there were several of the weeks before where Ukraine was capable to gain even more ground compared to the Russian army, but now the situation is changing again in the Russian favor in multiple of the spots of the front lines. There are no longer massive Ukrainian counteroffensive actions happening, just some of the localized spots. And I'm not saying that it's bad. The idea for Ukraine is not to have the excessive losses in those big counterattack campaigns and just to wait for the Russian army to attack. The goal is to basically cause Russians significant losses at the front lines, behind the front lines, and far behind. And about the strikes, Ukraine has hit one of the Russian air defense systems, again in Gelendzhik. This is S-400. So this is the place where it was hit. Those are the Ukrainian strikes for the last night. So Russia lost Panzers 1, Tor, couple of the radars, which are very important. So Ukraine clears the way for the drones to fly without obstacles. First, you need to kaput Russian air defense systems very close to Ukraine. And after it is going to be like a free highway for the drones to hit Russia massively. This is the Russian K-52 attack helicopter. It is chasing Ukrainian drone.
What?
Yeah, that's FP1. Yeah, it flies kind of slow, I would say. Some of the other videos are coming from the front lines, like for example, somehow Ukraine found this tank. Russia tried to hide it in the... Oh, this is artillery system, guys. Sorry, you will not see behind my image. Yeah, actually 2 Russian Msta-S self-propelled hot visors were destroyed by Ukrainian FPV drones. This is the second one, you can see. I always have to change my picture here. Yeah, some of the music, and the most vulnerable spot is on the side, yeah, and here maybe behind the turret. There is some of the hatch, yeah, straightforward to it. And just one more drone to cross-check the picture with the strike. It is gone. It is completely no-go. Russians try to hide it. You might see how. We see that several drones are needed for those highly armored vehicles. And we have the confirmation of the hit on the Russian S-300 command center. This is the vehicle where the most sensitive equipment is located, that tracks the targets and controls everything, and some very strange Ukrainian drone made it to the target and it went kaboom. One more perspective, so at least 3 of the surveillance drones were there, so minus 1 more S-300 for Russians. Ukraine definitely clears the way for the drones, but still Russia has lots of the air defense. However, Putin concentrates those to mainly protect Moscow region and very sensitive infrastructure. Not the Wildberries warehouses, not oil refineries, just some of the government official buildings. And this is the very interesting operation of the Ukrainian FPV drones. Those are the fiber optic control. They fly for more than 40 kilometers away from the Ukrainian positions to reach Russian dugouts, Russian hideouts. For example, here's one more. Could it be a Russian artillery under this cage? Maybe. Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to find, like for example here, it was not visible from the other side, but Russians tried to hide this infantry personnel carrying vehicle, I guess, modernized from the tank. Maybe it is the tank itself. And there are countless of all-terrain vehicles like this one, and the image quality, it is just fantastic. And of course fiber optic rules. You cannot perform those missions using standard radio signals, because those would be just jammed here, but instead you have a fantastic, unreal HD 4K picture, and of course our drone operators may find proper targets to hit. The usual FPV drones are used just like that to hunt some of the objects outside, but inside the signal is of course jammed. And some other vehicle, a supply one, you might see 1, 2, 3, 4 of the antennas of the Russian electronic warfare system. Maybe it's the generator, some of the packing, some of the munition, and basically Russians are too slow. Here is one more something. Yeah, this is the Bukhanka van modernized to the pickup. Holder drones which are waiting for some time and hunting Russian supplies. This is happening very fast. So even if Russians have the system to ident the drones coming, simply not enough time to react. You saw it. A strange situation happened in Bulgaria. So foreign minister of the country summons the Ukrainian ambassador over drone entry into Bulgarian airspace. There was some sort of the Ukrainian drone without any sort of the warhead, TNT, but definitely it went to Bulgarian airspace from the Romanian airspace. And I told you before about the possible false flag operations, so maybe it's the Ukrainian drone, maybe it is also Ukrainian drone that was launched by Russians. For now, we are not sure. And hopefully this case will be investigated. And by the time I'm telling you about it, Moldova has reported about the drone which entered its airspace. And what kind of the drone, we are not sure. But yeah, the war is happening, and what's the reason to summon a Ukrainian ambassador? Like, you may communicate via other channels. It's like, oh, your drone is here. Bulgaria, there is the war, very close. You know, Ukraine drones are flying, missiles are flying. You see what is happening with Poland, with Russian Ha-101 missile that was sadly not intercepted by Ukraine because Ukraine is in lack of the interceptors. And unfortunately, Bulgaria now has a kind of neutral, as they say, government, which is, I would say, even pro-Russian. Alright guys, I'm gonna keep you updated, stand by for one more video today, and also if you have this opportunity, you may support me on Patreon, the link for it is in the video description right below, or you may just press button join to join YouTube membership. Thank you so much, you are making this content possible. Also, don't forget to press like to this video and subscribe to the channel. We are on the way to reach 1 million subscribers. Thank you so much for it as well. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.